Welcome to Eeaze, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs who want to be their own boss and experience financial freedom today. Here's your host, Candy Tolentino.
Hi, welcome to Eeaze. My name's Candy Tolentino. I'm your host, and I created this podcast because I'm on a personal mission to help entrepreneurs get unstuck and to live the life of passion, purpose, and ease we were all born to live. And to that end, I always try to seek out really interesting, heartfelt, authentic entrepreneurs who have made it and who have accomplished their dreams, but they still maintain their humility. They still maintain their relatability. And in doing so, I know that hearing their stories can be really inspirational for each one of us, because it's one thing to hear about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk owning the world and buying Mars. And I don't know about you, but I personally can't relate to that. But when I hear about someone who's a single mother or a father who lost his job, or just someone who had a really good idea, but they didn't know how to implement it, and they hustled and grinded and figured it out, I'm personally inspired by everyday people who do extraordinary things. So to that end, I am so excited to welcome our guest today. She is just a powerhouse. I attended this GrowthCon seminar. If a few of you who've listened already probably have heard me talk about it, with Grant Cardone, and he has an upcoming television show, The Great American Speak Off, I believe is the name. And today's guest was one of the finalists. She blew me away. Listen to this. The premise was you had only 3 minutes to deliver a powerful message. Like, what would you say if somebody gave you only 3 minutes to make a speech in front of an audience of millions of people and compete with anybody else who has 3 minutes and the skill set to do it? Like, what would you say? Well, let's ask Shametria about it. That's our guest. Her name is Shametria Gonzales. She's one of the world's most requested motivational speakers. But get this, she didn't start out with a silver spoon in her mouth, or she didn't just wake up one day and decide to become a world-renowned speaker. No, Shametria is a survivor of sex trafficking. She was raped and trafficked, and she went from that to being a business owner, multifamily investor, and a world-renowned speaker. No, Shametria is a survivor of sex trafficking. She was raped and trafficked, and she went from that to being a business owner, multifamily investor, and a well sought out speaker. So I am super, super excited to welcome her today. Thank you, Shametria, for being here.
You are so welcome. I just want to say thank you for having me. And anytime somebody reads my bio, I'm just like in tears inside internally, because it's my life. And so I still think that I'm a work in progress and I'm on a journey, but it always reminds me of how far I've come. And that's a great reminder. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Absolutely. So take us back, Shametria. Like, I know it's a lot to unpack in a 30-minute interview. It's a lot. But what was your childhood like? Can we start there?
Yes, we can. I always say I was a small town girl with a really big dream. So I was really, really small. Back in the 90s, there was something called like a crack epidemic. So I was born with crack in my system. And
Oh.
for a very long time, I was ashamed of myself. My name is Shametria. And one day somebody pointed out that it's spelled Shame. So that kind of like stuck with me. And then I was tossed around house to house, grew up in foster care for a while. And at 15 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm going to emancipate myself, because I was talking to my counselor and she was like, look, you have an option. You do not have to be a part of this anymore. You can emancipate yourself. That's where you go to the state and you say, look, I want to be legally grown and I can take care of myself. So basically, that's what I did. And I was a very energetic, very smart student athlete. I grew up with extreme poverty and a lot of opposition, but I never let that get to me, because I always tell people I didn't know I was poor until other people told me. I didn't know I was uh, a foster child until other people told me. I thought it was just normal. Like everything that I went through in life, I just normalized it. I thought it was normal. So after 15
Oh,
years old, I decided to emancipate myself, and that's when life got really hard for me because, like we said, we started off with childhood. So now we're going to basically where I thought I was legally grown, which meant I was grown. So I always tell young girls, stay a child while you're a child, stay a teenager while you're a teenager, stay a young adult while you're a young adult, because life happens fast. And one thing that's not going to slow down is time. So enjoy every process, every moment of it. And for me, I didn't get a childhood, I didn't get an innocence of a teenager, life. I became grown at 15. So after I emancipated myself, I started working at a place called Sonic Drive-In, and it was right across the street from my school. And that's when these women would start coming. And I like to say there's prey and there's predator. So prey is people who get preyed upon. Predator is people that look for something to prey upon. And that moment, I became prey because there were these women that were going out scouting for women that they could traffic. And they came to me and they looked for young girls who worked because young girls that work that are in high school or junior high probably don't want to, they have to. They looked for girls who suffered from abandonment and rejection, and they looked for young girls who were not happy in life. And I was all of those things. I was very, very stressed out. I was going to school, I was working. I didn't have anybody that I felt loved me or cared for me. So they would ask me questions like, how much money do you make? How much money do you want to make? Where are your parents? Why are you at work every day? Like we want to take like we you should have family around you. So long story short, they finally, after months of just conversing with me and giving me big tips and showing up in different cars and stuff, they were like, "Look, why don't you come work with us because you're not making enough money to take care of yourself and you need family." I didn't care about the money part, but the family part got me. So I'm like, "I do need family, like, everybody needs family." So I went with them, and I tell people 2 acronyms. One is people look at sexually trafficked as if it's like Taken, where they just take you, kidnap you, throw you in the back of a car, drug you up, and you get raped repeatedly. That's one version of it. Or they looked at it as if being pimped, which is where a man basically gets your mind and gets in your mind, and you go out because you love him and you do things for other men, for sexual favors, and then you bring the money back to the man. Neither one of those is what I went through. I literally went to something that I thought in my head was a family. And when I went there, they started off very slow. They were like, okay, just do this, but give your money to him, to him. So eventually, after maybe a year or two of just doing small things, he was like, look, there's this thing called Molly. If you take it, you won't remember anything. You can double your money and you'll be able to really make me proud. Like, you are the one. He would always tell me, "You're the one, you're special. Like, it's something different about you, and you can take us to the top." I believed that. Like, I knew I was special. I knew I was anointed. I knew I was beautiful. And I just wasn't conscious that what I was doing was wrong because he was like a father to me. Really, he was like a God. Like, if there was God, it was him and then God. Like, that's psychologically how my brain processed this. So he said, "Okay, take the Molly." So I started taking it, and then it was weird because I would just wake up, and then it became every night, and I started, like, struggling in school, and I knew that school was gonna be my way out. I was like, "I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna play sports." I was a student athlete at heart, like, I loved school. That was my thing because they fed me in school. I had safe adults in school. I was a great athlete, so I actually had an identity in school. At home, I was just a whore, right? And, that's what other people called me. That's not what I called myself. I didn't even think that.
wow.
I just thought I was a woman that was, very good at what I did in order to make another man a profit and make him happy. So, trafficking came about when I would be put to sleep taking Molly and wake up the next morning, and this happened for a very long time, and then finally, one day And I didn't really care about myself because I never cared about myself as a child. I didn't think I was valuable anyways. But my best friend, her name was Cinnabuns, and that wasn't her real name, but that's what we called her. Everybody went by an alias name. I remember waking up and I shook her and I was like, "Hey, we gotta go. Like, we slept too late. I got school. Like, I have a test today. You know,
Wow.
we gotta get him his money before the sun rises." That was the thing. Before the sun rises, you and your money should be in his hand, or the money should be at home. So he was like, he had blew my phone up, and so I was like, I called him back, and I thought that I would get out of it because um, Cinnabuns was like, she wasn't waking up. So I'm like, "Look, I think something's wrong with her. She's not waking up. I don't know if she's breathing," and I'm freaking out. And he's like, "Don't say nothing. Just be chill. Go to school. Imma take care of it." I never saw Cinnabuns again.
No.
Never.
No.
And so I pray that if I ever say these podcasts, or, when I talk about it on TV or wherever my story goes, maybe she went somewhere else. Maybe she's still alive and she will hear me and know that I'm worried and that I would really like to know what happened to her. But that's the story that I told my coach, and my coach who was undercover. My coach, when I say my coach, he wasn't my coach at the time. His name was Coach Tim, but he came undercover as if he was a client. I didn't, because we weren't allowed to talk to people. So if I would have known who he really was, I would have never opened up to him. But because he was a client and he was really nice to me, he just that broke me. Like, I was silent. Like, I never said anything of what I did. I never talked about the man. The man's name is Snake, but I never talk about what he did to me, how he hit
Was
us, beat us.
was Snake basically the pimp, or who is Snake?
So Snake is the trafficker.
The trafficker, thank you.
Mhm. No, that's
Mhm.
okay. And so, but people in different cultures or languages, they may identify in different roles what that means for them. Some people say a pimp, some people say trafficker, some people say pedophile. I was 15, he went
Wow.
after young girls. Everyone was my age. It wasn't older women. That the men didn't want older women, they wanted young girls that weren't that developed. I wasn't very developed.
You were all teenagers at this
Yeah.
time?
Yeah, that was a niche. Think about it,
Mhm.
every business has a niche. That was his thing. And again, when you're a child and you're in it, you're not thinking like that, but when you look back and you're like, "Wow, wait, all of us were young, like 13, 15, 12." And,
You
you know
had as young as 13 that
yeah,
were being trafficked at the same
yeah,
time.
because
Unbelievable.
they had foster parents that would, adopt the children, and they would just come and be a part, like, come stay in a mansion, so they thought they'd be, like, staying somewhere nice. And like I said, we ate, we had a ride to school, we knew to say that we knew never to say anything that would get us kicked out, like, right? So if you thinking you're in a home and you're safe, you don't wanna get kicked out of where you are.
So they all took you in, and you're living in one domicile together with this whole
Yes. A mansion
illegal. You're living in a mansion. Okay, so he's trafficking young girls to pay for a mansion and
and
whatever else.
cars and fancy chefs, like, I really thought I was a very smart girl, and I just thought I was so blessed. Like, I never looked at it any other way, and honestly, I'll get back to my story, but I didn't find out that it was wrong until I was 27 years old,
Wow.
and I'll tell you how that came about, but,
Okay.
just for the sake of time, that happened with Cinnabuns, and that was it. I was done, I was over it. I'm like, "You know what? I have to tell somebody this because I wanna kill myself. Like, I don't wanna be here anymore. She was my best friend. Nobody's telling me what happens. I can't ask him what happened because he's gonna get mad at me, and I can't ask the girls because then it's gonna look like I'm dividing us, and you don't ask questions." So, I opened up to my coach, who was undercover with the FBI, and that was what they needed to indict him. And so I didn't know that, but, it's a sad story and it's a good story, because the sad part is that because I helped, I did not get a prostitution charge. The
They
other
were they charging underage women who were girls, not even women who were being
every one
trafficked?
of those girls, because remember we came in at like 15, I was 15, some were 13, some were 18, some were 17. Anyone who was legal, they got charged with prostitution, and even the younger ones still got cases on them and treated like whores versus women that were a part of a brothel that were sexually trafficked. And the only reason that I didn't see that treatment happen to me is because of Coach, because I had helped him as like an informant and I didn't even know it. And so I was very angry at first when it happened. At the time, I was 18 years old and I just knew, I'm like, God spared me. I'm out. What is life? I don't know anything else. I don't know any other females. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't have a safe space. And I had already had a child from that situation. So, she stayed with a woman who was like a godmother to me, but I didn't know anything. And so my coach was like, "Look, you love sports, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like sports." He was like, "Well, we're going to get you a counselor." I'm like, "I'm not talking to nobody." Like my mind was literally still like, I'm not talking to anybody because my coach betrayed me. He used my words and then got, everyone in trouble. And again, of course, I don't think of it like that now.
Right,
I'm
but
so
you're thinking this is your family and he's taking down your good life. Is
yes,
that how you were looking at it?
yes. That's how I was looking at it. I was
Mhm.
angry. And so he was like, "Look, I know you're upset with me. I know you're angry, but you have a child, you have yourself, and you have nothing, but I can get you a scholarship. They will give you 3 meals a day, an apartment, and you can get a refund check." I was like, "Oh, sign me up. Like, I'll do it. Great." I didn't even know what a degree was. I didn't care about like I had no idea what my major was for the first 3 years. Junior year, my advisor set me down and she finally started talking to me. But basically what happened was, and it's a beautiful story, I wrote my story and I told him what happened to me to every HBCU that he had connection with. 28 schools offered me a scholarship and I did not have a high school diploma.
Wow.
Yep. So at that point, that was my first time advocating for myself, like actually standing up for myself and being like, I just told him my story. Like, they care about me? Like, I thought they was gonna judge me and think that I was nasty or, like, stupid or
Or a
whatever,
criminal, right, that
a
you
criminal.
thought you were responsible for the
Or them.
criminal
Yeah,
activity that was perpetrated against you. Yeah,
yeah,
because there's so much manipulation, I'm sure, psychological, and there's so much abuse going on. You don't
yeah,
know which end is up.
I didn't. And
Mm.
and when I told them the part about, like, waking up and going to sleep, I was like, "You wake up, you go to school, and then you come home, you take whatever he gives you," because we had a private doctor. There was no going to the ER, there was no going to the emergency room. A doctor came. If we had a woman problem, you get a shot, you take pills.
What?
If you are
Wait,
on
there was
your
a medical doctor that was in on this ring?
yes. I'm actually gonna send you a article that just happened in the same area that I'm telling you about, and I think they were interconnected and it took this long. February, they took down 46 men,
Oh.
a pastor, a priest,
Pastor!
a NFL hockey player, professional,
Come on.
a
Wow.
hotel owner, a director of a not-for-profit, a school teacher, a football coach. I cannot make this up. This is a $1 trillion industry. So when I tell people I have to shed light on my experience because I was treated like royalty. If you are a little girl thinking that you have nothing and no one, and you have someone who comes in with all of this stuff, and all you have to do is take a pill, go to sleep, and wake up. Like,
Yeah.
that was nothing for me. I didn't need money because I didn't know I was making money. Like, I didn't know.
You
I just thought this
didn't.
was a job to help everybody as a family.
And it sounds like you were the perfect target because here you are, you're a little girl with no family, like you said, right? You have no friends, you have nobody looking out for you. So, for anyone out there who knows a young person who doesn't have anybody to help guide them, please be the change, be the person. Like just hearing
Yeah.
this, it's not, it's but and I'm so glad that the story has obviously a happy ending, because look at how far you come, as you said. But my heart is absolutely shattered listening to this, and that there could be that many adults standing by, participating, who are complicit. It's like hearing the Jeffrey Epstein story all over again, but
But
with
this is on a whole nother level, because these are minors that are foster children, that are adopted, that are homeless. That is the target. He did not want people that brought drama. And that was what he would tell us, because then he would start trying to get us to recruit. Again, we're not thinking of recruiting. We're thinking that we're helping the young girl.
Right. Okay. So continue. So you helped expose these piranhas.
Yes. And the women that brought me in, besides Cinnabuns, because of course I don't know what happened to her, they were arrested. Snake was never arrested.
What?
He was not there. And when they tried to indict, nothing of him was legal. Nothing of him was traceable. You're talking about $1 trillion back in the day. Like, this is big money. And he had a lot of people working with him. But because of the murder, I like to say murder. I think they murdered her.
Oh
I
my
think they
gosh.
gave her something she wasn't supposed to have, or maybe a shot or something, because I took the same thing she did, but I woke up. And so that was how they were able to infiltrate the home and get the search warrant. But other than that, it was hard to track. Like, no one says anything. There's a code. And so, I have this huge tattoo from the top of my arm all the way down to the bottom, that it has a snake. It's a rattlesnake head with a python's body. I don't know what the symbolism of that was, but every girl who was a part of our crew has that tattoo. That's why I always wear long sleeve.
They branded you on top of everything else. It wasn't enough to traffic you. It wasn't enough to completely rape you of your childhood.
Yeah.
They branded you with this snake tattoo to begin with. And you're telling me this person to this day still has never been caught?
Not to my
No.
knowledge, no. So
Wow.
even when I speak, and I didn't speak for a while, because I knew he was still out there, or his people were still out there. And my counselor told me, she was like, "Shametria, you cannot be afraid of the monsters in your story."
Mhm.
And for the first time, I was like, "Wait, he was a monster. Like,
Mhm.
he's evil. He was demonic. He was the scum of the earth. Like,
Yeah.
you played with me, like my mind, like my innocence, my childhood, my body, so I'm not afraid anymore. So that's why I don't mind sharing my story. That's why I don't mind telling people what happened. I know everybody is not going to believe me. Everybody's not going to be happy for me. Everybody's not going to understand my struggles or think that I've changed. That's okay, because I am 100% clear. I have clarity, and I know exactly who I am, and I know exactly what happened to me, and it was not my fault. I actually forgive him, but I would never forget. And the fact that I forgive him gives me the power over myself and over him to be able to share my story and my truth, and not cry, and not be vulnerable, and not be re-traumatized. I'm doing this I don't think about Shametria. Thinking about the young girls who could be Shametria.
Mhm.
So it's so much bigger than me. But, basically the beauty, because the story gets better. I'm sorry to my listeners
Okay.
if this is triggering. If this is triggering to
Oh.
anyone, or if this is something that it brings something up for you, please take a second to do some box breathing. That's where you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, and you breathe out for 4 seconds. And take a step away from the computer. You can pause it and come back. I know this is not easy for people to hear, but I'm doing it because it's not easy for me to say. But it does bring about the awareness, and it allows you to see it in a new way and a new light, so you can see the red flags. I told you it was a young girls that don't have families, young girls that are part of foster homes. It's young girls that don't say much when you ask them questions. It's young girls that don't have accountability for where they're at night, but they come back in the morning looking exhausted. Um, it's girls that they have a certain way about themselves, to where they have these marks on them, or they're like, for myself, I had a huge tattoo, but I always had marks on my arms because he would pinch me. Like, they never hit your face or anything like that. But I would get pinched, I would get like beat on my back. Um, they'd hit us with like it's like this long scratch thing for your back. If you didn't make enough money, you'd get hit with it. Like, this is serious stuff. But again, it was like punishment. It's like when a child thinks they've done wrong and the parent asks them, "Do you know why you getting a whooping?" Like, that's why I don't even do like, at first I don't whoop my child, but I would never say, "Do you know why I'm beating you?" Like, that's not psychologically healthy. And so, you know, the beauty of the story is that when I went to college, I did get a full scholarship to go to Southern University at New Orleans. I got to bring my daughter with me. I got to go and play volleyball and basketball because I needed to keep myself busy because it was easy for me to go back. I didn't know anything else. And for the first 2.5 years, it was really hard for me to be normal. I wasn't normal. I didn't live a normal life. So sleeping at night, my sleep pattern was off. I never had a boyfriend because I didn't understand men for anything except transactions. I didn't even think that a man could be a boyfriend because I didn't trust anybody now because I knew the one man I did love, he used me. And so, it was really hard. And I had coaches. I had a volleyball coach, a basketball coach. I had a school advisor. I had the counselor. I had the executive director, the chancellor of the school. Everybody knew my story and everybody supported me. They loved on me. They made sure that I kept on good track. They watched my daughter. It was so crazy that every class I went to had an extra desk for my child and some color and stuff, or they would have a book or some
Really?
snacks. Mhm. Yep.
Wow, I did not know that was a thing. That's pretty progressive. Thank
Yes. Southern
you.
University. This was after Hurricane Katrina, so they were really, really, really looking to get retention at the school. And the athletic department had just been formed, so they treated us like royalty. Like, it was the best experience of my life. We had 3 meals a day. Everything they promised me, they did. And my senior year, my coach looked at me and she was like, "Shametria, your presentation online, it still looks like you are who you used to be." Because social media came out and I was the person, everything was in me giving myself away. So I would wear provocative clothes still, and I still was in the mindset of just like, I don't matter. So I was like getting a reputation, and not for like sex or anything, but just for being loose and gullible and the fun person, right? I would always be the one at the life of the party, dancing, drinking, and just, I still was great and student athlete, but I wasn't there mentally to
Mm,
know who I was. I didn't
mhm,
know who God had created me to be.
Were
My
you
coach,
medicating your pain through
well,
being the party girl and
yes, yeah, because
being flamboyant and
girl, I did not trust any drug, no marijuana, no drinking, but
mhm,
I my medication was being the party girl, being the life of the party, being the one everybody laugh at, and the
yeah.
one that they're like, "Get her because she's the wild one, she'll do anything," right? So it's like that kind of became a just a part of my lifestyle. And then my coach called me in senior year. I run into practice and I'm like there and I'm ready, I'm excited. And she's like, "You gotta go." I'm like, "What?" She was like, "I told you to clean up your act. And I heard something that you did this weekend, and you are not getting a scholarship. I'm cutting you from the team." So she did that, and I don't know what about that kind of like changed the mindset of my class. Like, my team loved me. So she tells me to leave. I leave, I go to my dorm, I'm packing my stuff, I'm bawling. And really, I'm like, I knew this was gonna happen, feeling sorry for myself. Like, I knew I wasn't nothing. Like, I know nobody loved me. Like, I'm gonna always be cursed. I got a generational curse on me, feeling all this stuff. And my team comes in, the whole team. They told coach they were not practicing unless I was there, and that they would each look out for me and be responsible for me because my coach did not know my story. She just
Mm,
knew I was a troubled child and she didn't want to give up on me. But they convinced me to truly share with her what had happened to me, and I did. And she let me keep my scholarship, but she set me boundaries. I had to be in at 9 o'clock. I had to take down my social media. I had to be in the front of each class. I had to maintain a 3.5 GPA. And I had to change the way that I dressed in class and on campus. And she gave me a book to read, and the book was called The Alchemist. And that's my favorite book to this day because I learned that if I would not, like, out of all the obstacles I went through, there was something that was calling me to something with a bigger purpose than myself. And I realized that I was gonna go after my alchemy. I was gonna become the best version of myself. And because of the people that loved and supported me, that did not give up on me, that I had no excuse. The only enemy that I had was myself and my thoughts. So I started to really dive deep into personal development. So when I went to my first Lisa Nichols conference, then I went to Tony Robbins conference, and I went to Les Brown's conference, and I joined keynotes and Toastmasters. Then I started advocating, and I started working at a not-for-profit after I graduated. And then I became so known for my story that the Louisiana Foundation Against Sexual Assault hired me, and I started working with them. And then I started going to actually use my story at the political level, at the local and state level politically, so I can share my story to pass different laws for women who have been assaulted and sex workers so they wouldn't have to get a record. And I would share my story of what happened to me. And then I started like helping with Roe versus Wade because I'm like, I have a child and she's here, and I don't think anything is a mistake, and this is how she got here. So if you think that your child is a mistake, this is the living proof that it's not. God doesn't make mistakes, no matter how it happened. And so it just was beautiful. It created a journey for me that till this day I'm still on. I started wholesaling properties, and I went from wholesaling properties to getting my real estate license, to getting with a very rich broker who showed me that I didn't need to hustle and bustle on calls all day, just calling people. I needed to build relationships and learn the business because multifamily and becoming an investor was where it was at, where the money was really at. And then she introduced me to wealth. I got my trust, I got my will, I started my portfolio. So it just was like one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And then finally I was like, I have to like get clear on why God put me here. And making money is great. Real estate is cool. Speaking and running for politics is cool. Changing laws is great. But I want to help women. Like all I want to do is help women become the best version of themselves. And then I also have a heart for women who've been trafficked. So I know for me, school provided that outlet because they gave me a safe place to heal, food, and money. So I was like, how can I do that for them if they don't want to go to school? And that's when me and my friend Sophia Willits created Home for Grace. And that is a space that we created in order for women to come and have a fair chance to heal and a safe chance at a new start. And it is a house. They can live there. We have a chef that comes, preps meals. We have a lot of different local community organizations that are already 501c3s that can help as if they need an attorney, if they need food, if they need clothes. We have Dress for Success. So it just started like basically what I made it out of qualified me to help the women that are still in it now. And rather it's, like I said, speaking on stages around the world, coaching women. I don't like charging. So one of the things that I've been really good at is learning how to get OPM, which is other people's money for my vision with these women. And I don't even like taking people's money. So I learned how to become a government contractor. I learned how to bid. I learned how to fundraise and crowd fundraise. I learned how to flip property so I can have my liquidity and, leverage credit and debt. It's a beautiful journey. I'm 31 years old, and my mission is to change the world by changing myself one philosophy at a time. So I'm very intimate. I don't see myself having to do millions and millions of clients. I just need one good one that's attached to millions. I just need a woman that doesn't believe in herself to just hear me out and give me a chance to help her give herself a chance. And it's been a journey. I have 2 babies now. I have Ariana and Ashad. So as a mother of 2, I like to talk about this because no one talks about it, and it's sacrifice. Because so many times I tried to choose my children, or I wanted to get married, or I wanted to just work a 9 to 5 and use my master's degree. So good. Another thing, guys, this is my last semester of my master's, so I'm about to
Woo!
graduate. So I'm really
Masters, you're on fire.
excited. So, but it's just constantly keeping my mind, because remember, my mind was coerced. Someone tricked me.
Mm.
So anything that can challenge, like anything that can sway my mind, it's like the devil to me. Like whether it's people, whether it's anything that can make me not be conscious, I don't want. No drugs, no alcohol, no distractions. So I sacrifice a lifestyle of normal to be extraordinary, right? So that's why I loved what you said when you said I like to take people that are normal people, but they do
Mhm.
extraordinary things. Like, dude, that is literally my mantra for life. Like, I'm very humble. I have a lot, but I give way more. And then I found ways to continue to live the life that I want to, and it took sacrifice. So I don't have a relationship. I have a relationship with God. I have a relationship with my clients and with my affiliates and my coworkers and the people that employees. But that's all transactional. I keep my relationship with God very strong. That's my intimacy right now. My children, they live with their father. My daughter doesn't have a father, so she lives with my grandmother, or my godmother, I like to call her. And I travel, so I come based here, and then I travel year round basically. My son's with his dad, so I see him when I can, but I FaceTime both of them every day. My lifestyle, I don't have Lamborghinis and Bugattis. I have estates and property. I have land. I have credit, credit lines. I have a network of people that are multimillionaires, because I've learned how to create meaningful relationships with high quality people, because I became a high quality individual. And I don't let my story keep me there, but I don't forget where I came, because I can always go back there and get other people. Just like my friend literally told me yesterday before I did this call, she said, Shametria, Harriet Tubman came to me when I thought about you. I was like, what?
Mhm.
She was like, yeah. She was like, she made it out. She went back to get others, and some of them wouldn't leave.
Mhm.
You have to know that. And I was like, what you mean? She was like, your mind didn't even let you think that what was happening to you was wrong. So don't feel bad if somebody goes back or they don't want to go with you. Everybody
Mhm.
didn't want to go with Harriet. They didn't know they were slaves. Maybe these women don't know they're being trafficked. She
Right.
said, but you just don't give up on yourself, because like basically what's for you is going to be for you. You cannot save everybody. And Harriet had to know that when she went in, that everybody can't come. She's going to save as many as she can. That right there was like, oh my gosh. It's touched me. This was just last night, right? So think about the people that you have in your life, the friendships that you have, the people that you have, the way that you show up. And I started my story like 80% of this, no, 90% of this was my story. That most darkest, scariest, vulnerable places that I can go to. And then I told like maybe 10% of what I do now, like just
Wow.
right? Because that's what connects to people.
Mm.
It is
Mm.
what my good is, if it's not anything that's going to serve them. But what does serve them is to know that I came from that, and now I'm this. I started there, but through the power of prayer and powerful women and shifting my mindset, I'm here. And even here, I had to sacrifice to stay here, because I can't be there and here. So you have to choose to be a high quality, high network individual. You have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. And a lot of your time will be spent in solitude and prayer, because you have to stay connected to source to be able to pull from the abundance of source. So
Amen. I heard that.
this is
There
my
was
story.
so much to unpack in what you've shared. Oh my gosh. But I just wanted to highlight a few key takeaways for me
Yes, ma'am.
from your, because we could stay together probably for a week and you could tell your story and not even hit all the highlights, I bet, all the lessons, and
Mhm.
still have me on the edge of my seat. That's how potent your story is. But I love that you mentioned, it sounds like your favorite book is still The Alchemist.
Yes. Till this day.
So, yes, for anybody listening, you want something good to read, inspirational. I mean, this book helped Shametria change her entire mindset. And imagine the mindset, the mental poison that had to be injected on a daily basis to keep young girls in a situation where they're trafficked and they don't even know it. And that's what the world is doing to us all the time anyway. It's poisoning us with things that we see in the media, with
Yeah.
superficiality. I love that you said you don't have Lamborghinis and other flashy material things. You have a network.
Yes.
You have credit.
Mm-hmm.
You have access, right? You're into
Yes.
properties, you're into assets, not liabilities, cars and things that lose value. So I
Mm-mm.
wanted to echo that point. I wanted to echo The Alchemist. I love that you said that you were qualified to do the work you're doing because
Yes.
of what you went through.
Yep.
And so I wanted to highlight that message to anybody listening. If you are going through a struggle right now, if you're going through something difficult, I promise you it's because you're being qualified
Oh,
to help lift other people out of the same situation on the other side. And how would
yes.
you know? How would you know to help someone out of a situation you've never been in? How would you gain any grit or any personal mastery if you never had an obstacle to overcome? So I know people are listening who are in it right now.
Yeah.
I know there's pain and there's frustration. Starting a business can be hard.
Yes.
Lifting yourself out of your comfort zone and just punching a clock and doing the easy thing, it's scary. I know. But you've had this seed planted in you for a reason. Entrepreneurs are reaching for more. We're reaching for expression. We're reaching for creativity. We're reaching for innovation for a reason because the world needs us and needs it. But remember, you're being qualified through
Yes.
those challenges, right?
Yes.
You're being qualified to be the teacher, to
Yes.
be the expert, to
Yes.
be the help that
Yes.
the world needs. So I love that you said you were qualified even in all of those dark moments that you had to overcome. I love that you were being qualified for this moment. And who better than you now to help lift other women up?
So I don't even need validation anymore. And the last thing I want to bring to you, so me and my daughter, we wrote a book called The Reflection Eyes See, not I See. And it was because I looked at her and I was like, you came from something so tragic, but you are beautiful and innocent and a superstar. Like you are a prophet. Like my daughter's spoken over me in ways that I have them recorded, but in ways that I
Wow.
can't even, it doesn't do justice because I've always like vlogged my life. And so I have a lot of stuff that is very valuable. And as I grow in my caliber, I'm sure it'll be a part of maybe Oprah or Tyler Perry. They'll do my memoir. Like we're good. But I just want
Right. Claim it, sis.
to,
I
but
like it.
the part that I want to leave you with is the book subtitle says, "We are freed through conscious perception. We are enslaved to anything we do not consciously perceive." That is what happened to me. I was enslaved to something I didn't perceive as enslavement. And then when I was conscious of it, I was able to get out. So it could be anything. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be a situationship, it can be a weight that you're in and you're obsessively overeating, it could be a drug addiction. If you're not conscious of it, you're not gonna think anything is wrong, you're just gonna keep going through life. Once you
Mm.
become conscious of it, now you're operating out of yourself, your highest version of yourself, because you see what's wrong. It's your choice and you can make it right. You just got to ask yourself the right questions.
Okay. I love that. That's the message. That's the lesson of the day. I
Yes.
love it. You've got to be conscious. And so many of us are in denial of the things that are holding us back.
Yes.
We just think, I can think of things in my own life and people's lives around me. We're just not, consciousness, in other words, is the ticket to freedom. It's a
Yes.
ticket to progress,
Yes.
right? So I love that. Thank you so much. Before we end this interview, I have to get more words of wisdom
Yeah.
um, from you for somebody starting out. So, to the single mother out there, or the person who doesn't have a lot of money or a lot of resources, who wants to get started in real estate investing or
Yes.
speaking, what advice would you give
Oh,
to
absolutely.
people
So
start?
two-pronged. Speaking, success leaves a trail. All you have to do is follow. Start looking at speakers on YouTube. Instead of listening to the radio in your car, start looking at speakers on YouTube. I would start with Lisa Nichols. She is the only woman that it has a publicly traded motivational company on Wall Street. She's one of the best at what she does. I
Yeah.
would look at someone like Tony Robbins, who's the guru. Everyone knows him. If you don't, that's fine, but you should. And he is amazing at what he does. And then for the younger crowd, I would look at Eric Thomas. He's called the hip hop preacher. And he's used a very, very different approach to how he became a speaker. And he didn't have any money when he started. Like to speak, you just have to open your mouth. I would use my phone, turn it sideways so it can fit on YouTube, start first see what type of speaking you want to do, get clear on your message, and then stay consistent in your story, because the more people know your story, the more they know you. And they don't book you because of you, they book you because of your story and how it touches them and can change the lives of those around them and serve their audience. But you can start with a cell phone. You can start with research. Any good business, they start with something called research analytics, and that's where they research their business. So, as a speaker, research what type of speaker you would want to be. Um, then I would say start speaking and testing your market, your warm market, which is your friends, family, people around you, and then ask people, let them know what you're doing. Say, hey, I'm a speaker. I'm just getting into this new career. I know you go to conferences. I know you do this or that. If there's anyone that you can think of that I could probably serve with my voice, could you please do an introduction for me? You know how many
Mm.
stuff I've gotten from that? Just that one little thing. It's called championing. Have people champion you so you can
Mm.
become, and that's the way to get started with nothing except a cell phone, the right knowledge, and always wear lip gloss, ladies. Always wear nice lip glosses. That's a personal tip.
I
And
love those tips. Lip gloss and champions. Get people you know. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
yes,
Ain't
and your
nothing to it
brand
but
is
to
your
do it.
business. Look at your social media, look at your file, like look at everything you do, because be ready to be critiqued. Because if you're a speaker, that means you're speaking into lives of people. So you have to be ready to be criticized, and it's gonna come. So just be ready. But it's okay. It's part of the game.
Okay.
Yep. And then real estate, I'm gonna tell y'all my secret was wholesaling. And I can give them some nuggets real quick.
Please, yes.
Number one, wholesaling starts with two things: people that want to buy and people that want to sell. People that want to buy, you can buy lists to find them. They are called investors. They always are at the courthouse, at auctions. They're at real estate conferences. They're anywhere where real estate, Grant Cardone's they're there. You let them know you have properties because they want them. They're going to want them, and they're never going to stop it, because this is what they do. You create something called an email list for profit. That is where you put everybody on an email list, and these are investors that want to buy property. The second thing is, how do you acquire properties? That's also a list, but this list you can buy. You can buy a list from tax default houses, foreclosure houses, and houses that are
Distressed?
inherited.
Okay.
So those were my 3 lists. It was inheritance, foreclosure, and tax default. We would buy the list, and there's a script. If you would like, I could send it out. It's a small script, and there's a formula. So basically, you call everyone and you say, "Hi, my name is such and such. I am new to the area and I am looking to acquire more properties. I saw that your house was under foreclosure. I was wondering if I can help you and alleviate that from you by buying that for you and, keeping it out of foreclosure for you." Most of the times people are going to like, "Well, who are you? Who is this?" Blah, blah, blah. That's okay. Follow up and keep following up, because it's an emotional sell. So most of the people that have properties they have to get rid of, they're not going to get rid of them until they absolutely have to. But you've been following up with them, so they're going to call you. So never get discouraged if at the beginning it doesn't really work. It's going to work. Promise you. I've made a lot of money from that. And so you call them. It's just a list. The way that you get them to call you back is you campaign. So you get them because of course you don't have their number, you just have their information. You have their information on where they live, blah, blah, blah. I used mailers. You have to have a small budget for it. But honestly, my hair and nails, toes, eye wax, that costs like $1,000 a month. To send out a list of mailers, that's like $200 to $500 for about 1,000. Send it out. Now you have a campaign going. They're gonna call you either to say, "Stop sending mail to my house," or "Who is this? And I wanna know why you're sending mail to my house," or "What is this about buying my property?" And you just let them know. The same way I'm talking to you right now, don't be weird, don't be scripted. Have a conversation with them. Let them know there's a problem they have. You can help them solve it. Once you do that, there's an email list of people that wanna buy property. You have a property because what's gonna happen is you're gonna send them something called a contract. In real estate wholesaling, when someone signs a contract, they've signed their house over to you. You have the contract. Once you get a property under contract, you can tell your email list of people. You click one button, you say, "Hey guys, I got a property under contract." There's something called an AVR. I'm sorry, ARV. It's called an after repair value. So it's a formula to that. And of course, if somebody wants to know more about it, I can send information, we can dive deep into it. But basically, you know how much the property is worth. You get it under contract for 12,000, 20,000. You sell it to your list of investors for 30,000. How much money did you just make?
Right.
And you didn't have any money. You made $10,000 because if you get it for 20,000, you sell it for 30,000, you get $10,000. When the person gets their property sold, they get their money. The investor gets the property they want that they can flip, and you just get the middle. This is I paid thousands of dollars to learn this. So all I'm saying is it works. And if anybody's interested, I wouldn't mind, just because it's you, Candy. I'd probably take like maybe 10 people from this call, that the first 10 that would want to, reach out and I just give them some advice. I probably could even make like a short video or something and send it to you that explains it and shows the formula and, stuff like that. I wouldn't mind doing that because I know your goal is to help others become the best versions of themselves that are new entrepreneurs that are looking to grow their business. So the gift that keeps on giving is just service.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. How should our audience get in touch with you
Yes,
if they
everything
want to
is
stay
across
in
the
touch?
board. Anybody who's listening to me, if you're a business owner, do this. Your name is your brand. It is your everything. Because when they write about you in Forbes or anywhere else, it's going to say your name. Everything is my name, Shametria Gonzales, which is on the screen. There's shametriagonzales.com. Everything is on my website. How you can book me, how you can talk to me. Then I also have Home for Grace, which is the not-for-profit. That is going to be homeforgrace.org. So those are the two main websites they can find me. All my social media says Shametria Gonzales. Everything's even across the board. And yeah, if anybody needs to talk to me or knows some woman that is looking for help, please don't hesitate to reach out. If I don't have the resources, I'll find them.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing. So people they can find you on social media, right? Instagram at Shametria Gonzales.
Mm-hmm.
It's Shametria
Yes.
Gonzales,
Gonzales.
Gonzales.
Yes.
ShametriaGonzales.com and Home for Grace, you said, right? Is it the
Yes.
number 4 or is it spelled out? For those who are listening, just
HOMEFORGRACE.org. Make sure you put .org.
homeforgrace.org, ShametriaGonzales.com. Thank you so much for listening. I think I need to have you back in the future. Not when your schedule's as full as it is at the moment, but I would love to do a part 2 and really deep dive into your ascension, how you made it out of single motherhood, being trafficked, all of that, to being an investor and a teacher and a speaker and an entrepreneur and so much more. So I think we have to have a part 2 because you're just too interesting for us to wrap
Thank
this.
you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. As always, I love hearing from you. Questions, comments, show ideas. You can reach me at Eeaze. That's EEAZE eeaze.com or on our show hotline, 801-901-7030. Until next time, please stay conscious. Remember, consciousness is the theme of the day. Stay conscious, stay on purpose, and always stay at ease. Bye for now. Thank you, Miss Shametria.
You're welcome.
Love you.